Recently, Benchmade Knife Company announced their discontinued knife models for 2020. Surprising on this list was a Benchmade SuperFreak. I gotta tell you, I love this knife and I wanted to review it for some time now. Well, it's now or never. And maybe after watching this video, you'll go out and pick one up before they're all gone forever. So let's go inside and take a closer look at the Benchmade SuperFreak knife. Hello and welcome back to Blade Insider, where we discuss all things knives. Today we're reviewing the Benchmade SuperFreak, but before we get into that, let me tell you how I picked this knife up. A year ago, my local hunting store had a Benchmade day where a rep came out to the store to answer questions. He was with a store rep and I talked to them both for some time. The Benchmade rep really wasn't that helpful, but the store rep was a real expert on Benchmade knives. He suggested the SuperFreak and told me he had just bought one. The knife was never on my radar, but when I felt the grip in my hand and the action of the blade, I bought it on the spot. This is one of those few knife purchases where I bought the knife based solely on the action of the blade. The SuperFreak is widely held as one of the best knives Benchmade makes, so I was surprised as hell when I learned that Benchmade was discontinuing the model. Now recently, they discontinued their Hunt series of knives, only to reissue them with slight changes and a new higher price. Now I should have pulled the trigger and bought the Hidden Canyon Hunter model for under $100. Now that it's been reissued, it's significantly more money. I don't know if they're doing that with this knife, so before they're all gone, I wanted to review the knife and let you know how good it is and for you to go out and get one yourself before it's too late. But before I forget, please subscribe to this channel. I appreciate each and every one of my subscribers and work to get you new content on a weekly basis. Also, ring that bell for notifications of new videos and hit the like button. The original Benchmade Freak doesn't have a great backstory, and I don't know who designed the knife. The handles were interesting. They were not just two-tone, but actually a dual durometer polymer. The outer edge, the black portion, was a stiffer VersaFlex material to create the strong backbone for the knife. The gray inner portion had a soft grivery material, giving the knife some give for a comfortable grip without sacrificing stability. Like all other axis locked knives, the Freak was ambidextrous with the tip down carry and the Benchmade's split arrow clip. It had a thumb stud blade deployment as well. The blade had hollow grind and was very reminiscent of the Doug Ritter Griptilians. The SuperFreak is the first variant on the Freak and dramatically upgrades the materials on the knife. The VersaFlex scales are gone in exchange for layered G10 with intertwining gray and black layers, and the G10 is offset by a red inner liner. The blade steel is upgraded to CPM M4 steel, and this steel is a tough steel, but not corrosion resistant. So Benchmade coated the blade in black Cerakote. This is the same coating that was originally used to finish firearms. Let's go to the bench and take a closer look at the Benchmade SuperFreak. I rate my knives in 5 categories. The first is design and aesthetics. From an aesthetic standpoint, this knife is very sharp. I love the color scheme on this knife. The gray and black scales are perfectly offset by the red liner. This is completed by the coated black blade. Very nice. The scales are made of intertwining layers of black and gray G10. Parts of the scales are smooth. The middle part has these ridges on them, which makes for a great grip on the knife. The scales are chamfered along the edges, and there are no sharp points. It's really first-class manufacturing and probably the best example of craftsmanship when it comes to G10 scales. The knife has the axis lock, which is the top two of my favorite locks on knives. The knife is tip up for both right hand and left hand. The red liners are accented by these red tube spacers as well. If there are any knocks on the knife, it has to be with the clip. This is a typical split clip from Benchmade and the first thing that's often replaced on the knife. There is minimal jimping near where the scales meet the blade and a little more aggressive jimping on the blade itself. The blade is M4 and the blade is also coated with the black Cerakote coating. M4 is not corrosion resistant and therefore the need for the coating. Also, the action on this knife is at the top of the class. It's unassisted, but it springs open and drops shut. One of the best actions on a knife that I own. From a design and aesthetic standpoint, this knife gets a 4.5 out of 5. I really want to give this knife a 5, but that damn clip holds it back. Our next factor is carryability. But before we get into that, let's run the tail of the tape on this knife. The overall length of the knife is 8.46 inches. The blade length is 3.6 inches. The blade thickness is 0.11 inches. The blade material is M4. It is a drop point blade with a hollow grind. It has a black finish. The length of the handle is 4.86 inches. And the handle is made out of G10. The weight of the knife is 4.3 ounces. This is a USA made knife. It's a big knife and it fits well into my large hands. There are no pinch points when squeezing hard down on the handles. One defining characteristic of the knife, other than the distinctive look, is how the knife feels solid in your hands. There's no blade play, and it feels very substantial. At 4.3 ounces, it's not necessarily a heavy knife for its size, but the solid feel of the handles makes it feel that it should weigh more than it really does, if that makes any sense at all. Let's take a look at how this knife fits in a pair of jeans. Now, it's going to be too big to fit into the watch pocket. But it does fit into the front pocket of the jeans. We've got that much sticking up out of the pocket. There's still a lot of room for your hand, your phone, your wallet, or your car keys in your front pocket of the jeans. For carryability, this knife rates a 3.5 out of 5. It's a big knife and the clip holds it back a bit from scoring higher. The next category is materials. This knife is going to score well in this category. The knife has stainless steel liners and tube spacers that are colored red. It's a fantastic shade of red too. It's surrounded by layered black and gray G10, and the G10 is all sculpted, and it's a fine example of the craftsmanship that went into this knife. Benchmade then used M4 tool steel for the blade. So what is M4? It's a high-speed steel from Crucible Industries that provides a combination of high wear resistance and high impact toughness, but it comes at a cost. It's difficult to sharpen and susceptible to corrosion. So you got to oil that blade. Comparing this metal to VG10, we find that M4 rates a 3 out of 10 for ease of sharpening, a 9 for edge retention, 7 for toughness, and 2 for corrosion resistance. VG10 rates a 6 out of 10 for ease of sharpening, 5 for edge retention, 4 for toughness, and 7 for corrosion resistance. Think of this knife as a super version of D2, and it's very similar to Rex 45 as well. It's a great steel and better on the SuperFreak because of the Cerakote coating to keep away any corrosion. For materials, this knife gets a 5 out of 5. The scales really put this knife over the top. Usability is really the key to any knife. Knives are tools and meant to cut things. So how does this knife rate in this category? The knife is big and solid in my hands. One-handed action is easy and efficient on this knife. The action is perfectly tuned on this knife. I purchased this knife over a year ago, but it's still sharp and requires the occasional strop on the leather. Let's see how this knife cuts. Very sharp. As I said earlier, this is a big knife. Probably not the best to carry in the office to open up letters, but it'll make quick work out of those Amazon boxes. It can be a workhorse, but you need to keep it oiled and not leave it outside. For usability, this knife rates a 4.5 out of 5. It gets a slight knock because it's such a big knife. It won't get carried around as much as other, maybe smaller knives. The last category is value. Retail on this knife was about $225. It was worth that price for the craftsmanship on this knife. But now that it's been discontinued, I've seen the price drop to $190. That's a good deal, but you got to find it. These knives are selling out fast, so don't wait around. This knife gets a 5 out of 5 for value at the discounted price. So adding up all the scores, we find that this knife gets an overall score of 4.5. The clip and the size of the knife hold it back from getting that elusive perfect score. But make no mistake about it, this is a great knife. If you can get a hold of one, you shouldn't hesitate. I really can't explain why Benchmade is discontinuing this knife. My hope is that they'll re-release it with a new metal, but you never know, so don't wait. So what did you think of this knife? Have you ever waited to pull the trigger on a knife only to find it gone? What knives do you wish you would have bought? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And have you subscribed to this channel? If not, why don't you do so? We publish new content every week and would love for you to stick around and see what else we can come up with. Also, if you got anything out of this video, hit that like button. Our next video is going to focus on another Benchmade that's being discontinued. And now you can buy it for a steal. So don't forget to tune in next week for the answer to what Benchmade knife we're going to review. We'll see you next week.